Here we are in this big old empty world, staring each other down, metaphorically speaking. Welcome to the verbal yoke known as 9 to Noon at FM 100.3 KFAN. And we are at the TCO Radio Studio, which is at Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. And I'm Paul Allen. Eric Nordquist produces 9 to Noon. And guiding the great ship Love Covenant back at the 651 Carpets Plus Studios is Maxwell Fuller. Welcome to the presentation in front of the biggest football game of the year so far, coming Sunday for the Minnesota Vikings. And when the lights are brightest, they usually illuminate the stars, like this guy.
Good. 37 seconds to go in the first half. 1st and 10 Vikings back to the 26. Mullen shotgun, 3 receivers right, 1 left. Hawkinson goes in motion. Lions blitz. It's all picked up. Make them pay, Nick. Come on. He rolls out to the right. Throws to the end zone. Caught. There you go. Touchdown. He's JJ. And how we've missed that gritty. It's 17-13 Lions.
Now, the Detroit Lions have done quite a bit of work to their secondary to, let's say, bolster the pride. And the feeling on a Tuesday for a game Sunday, with the right to change the opinion Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, but probably won't be changing the opinion into the noon kickoff on KFAN Sunday, is the Detroit Lions have done a lot of work with their secondary to bolster said pride and try to get a hold of Justin Jefferson. But I just don't know if they're going to be able to find him or stop him. Justin Jefferson versus the Detroit Lions, through 8 games in his career, he averages 7 catches a game at 132 yards a game on average. And you think that's good, and you think that's big and fat right in the face of the pride. JJ's last 3 against the Lions, he's averaging nearly 10 catches a game, 185 yards a game, and he scored 2 touchdowns in the last 3 against the Motor City Kitties. So down Aiden Hutchinson, the first question that comes to mind right now is, are they going to blitz more? The Detroit Lions are not necessarily a blitz-happy team, but when their best overall defensive player goes down, that means best-laid plans undoubtedly are going to change. That's the hope, and then we get Jay Jets on the run against this Lions defense. A super fun one is coming Sunday. A super fun one is coming today at 11 a.m. when Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, joins the 9 to Noon presentation, as he is wont to do on Tuesdays. And the pregame Sunday is at 10, kickoff from U.S. Bank Stadium at noon. All of this is courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. What's on deck includes Vikes Bites and Mad Producer on the scene.
Vikes Bites is presented by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. You can go to Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed. You can shop online. A box of meat shows up at your doorstep. Local co-ops, local Coburns locations. They're proud sponsors of Go for Athletics, Minnesota-born company. Love them. By the way, on a side note, remember when the Vikings took Randy Moss, and then I think the Packers may have drafted like 3 straight corners in 99 or 2000?
Mike McKenzie, Anton Edwards, and corner du jour.
But, well, yeah, and so you look at the Lions, this last draft, Terrion Arnold, 24th overall, their second rounder, Ennis Rakestraw. I don't know what's turned in. He's a DB.
Right.
Then the year before, they get Brian Branch. The year prior to that, Kirby Joseph. I wonder if there's a little bit of that going on. And then, of course, a defense with Aaron Glenn that just needed to get better there. I want to start with our defense. And I just right out of the gates here as we get back from the bye. Which do you have more faith in, PA, in hopes that it sustains season long? That's the 6th best scoring offense in the NFL. That's the offense of your Minnesota Vikings. Or the 3rd best / lowest scoring defense in the NFL, Flores' crew. And if you had to put stock in one of those, which again, part of a 5-0 team is that everything's working right now. The kicker never misses, and both the offense and defense are handling their business. But
kicker never misses.
Which side of the ball would you at this stage put more faith in terms of sustaining what we've seen through 5 and hopefully number 6, a W coming this weekend.
Through 5, the defense has been more consistent. And I touched on this a little bit yesterday, where the second half of the Packers game defensively yielded some moments that we just had not seen through the first part of the season. So then you go to the Jets game, and it all got shored up. It all got squared away. And the defense really had most to do with beating the New York Jets and winning that game. So if it's a stock buying scenario, I'm buying stock in both sides. But the rush defense in this game against the Lions, it's tantamount. It's the number one topic for me right now. Like, if we're laying out 1, then 1A, 1B, 1C, the Vikings rush defense is giving up 67 yards a game, second best in the NFL. 3.6 yards per carry, second best in the NFL. They've allowed 1 rushing touchdown, tops in the NFL. They've allowed 15 rushing first downs, tops in the NFL. The Detroit Lions, when they were at U.S. Bank Stadium last year, where you just heard that Justin Jefferson touchdown, they had 3 rushing touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs had 2. David Montgomery had 1. Montgomery, the artist formerly known as the Sled Dog, has found an absolute resurgence to his career behind the best offensive line in the National Football League. And that's my A topic into the game.
Vikes Bites!
Vikes Bites, you say.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because I was going to roll this into basically, and I missed yesterday, so maybe you went into detail in terms of sweating the injury report this week. Aaron Jones coming back from injury. Will he be available this weekend? TJ Hawkinson. I feel like that, are we going to see TJ this week, right? Against his former team and all that. But the Lions run defense has been really damn good in 2024 as well. And that's kind of the interesting thing, is that, Aiden Hutchinson, in terms of how far down the road you went and how it changes things, and that is super interesting into the weekend.
Yeah.
This is a team that in totality has been really good against the run. Now you're blowing out the Cowboys, and the Zeke and the Dowdle trick, it just ain't working for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But other than the Seahawks, who put down $130 on the ground, and Kenneth Walker had just a terrific game in primetime as they were chasing that score all night. But they shut down the Cardinals, who need to run with James Conner, who need to run and in moments with Kyler Murray. They shut down the Bucs and Bucky Irving and Rashad White. That's a team that needs to run the ball. Ended up losing that home game, by the way, the Lions did. And then week 1, Kyron Williams and company, they couldn't get it done against the Rams. I'm looking at our rush defense being an A topic, but our rushing attack on Sunday, maybe to keep the ball on our side of things, maybe to stave off that elite offense that we've seen from the Kitties. Running the ball against these Lions is a bite for me on a Tuesday before a game on Sunday.
I think through 5, I think the Vikings have run more than they've thrown. I mean, it's awfully close. I think they may be a 52% run, 48 pass, something like that. So that's been prevalent during the course of the year. Now, when Aaron Jones went down in that New York Jets game, the running situation, when I was calling it and or watching it live, I thought that there was some impotency to it. Then when I watched it back, there was more that went into it, where there were things that were there, and there were just people making mistakes, and it mostly was in the second half. So that's just like reason 5. They needed the bye to shore some things up. And I'm not a big fan of a week 6 bye, but nevertheless, this team needed it for myriad reasons, including those injuries you mentioned, where Aaron Jones was out on the practice field yesterday. I think he might have been on the Mike Hughes Memorial Field, but it was good to see him out there. Hawkinson is eligible to return. I'm not necessarily counting on him this one, maybe the next one, but who knows? Maybe under the cover of darkness he emerges. Then on defense, to read that Blake Cashman was not practicing, that he was on the Mike Hughes he was either on the Mike Hughes Memorial Field or he did not practice, and it's some kind of right leg thing. Now this, it's difficult to look or talk about an adversary and say, holy cow, this would be a tough game to not have Blake Cashman, when the Lions just lost Aiden Hutchinson for the year. So, right. and one of their backup defensive linemen, Kyle Pecco, he's a veteran, knows how to play the game. he's not going to play either. So the full belief from yours truly at this stage of the equation is we're going to get some like hockey line changes from the Detroit Lions defensive line. Like, I think they're going to be wheeling player after player in, trying to find something that sticks and keep players who don't generally play a lot fresh. But in this particular game against a team that's full of tricks, and they like the double pass and they like throwing to their offensive linemen, and Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator, is sitting on a head coaching job next year. They're very good at what they do. It starts and stops, and everything they do is predicated off their running game. And we'll see what Kevin O'Connell says about that at 11 o'clock today. But Cashman not only leads the team in tackles, he's phenomenal against the run. So hopefully Cashman's able to get up to this game, though.
Yeah, and I wonder how that changes things, because I don't want to say we got by with Grugier Hill. Grugier Hill had a couple of picks in a row, right?
Yeah.
But he was also filling in for Ivan Pace, who I don't have the snap counts in front of me, but Blake Cashman is basically, you can't take him off the field in this Flores defense.
Green dot, though.
Ivan Pace kind of playing in that 40-50% snap role.
Yeah.
So in that vein of getting by with Grugier Hill, you do so quite effectively, and he played well in that spot. Without Blake Cashman, that feels like a different thing, big moment for Ivan Pace. By the way, you remember they got us, the Cowboys, just in a complete, just free fall mode with what took place on the weekend, and the Lions are just joking around out there. You remember they got us with that Penei Sewell bit a couple of years ago, didn't they?
Yes.
On some, it was like a first down to seal the game or something like that.
They threw to like the right flat. The George Fant play. Where he caught his first pass and he got a first down, and then there's big 58 or whatever his number is rumbling down the field. Yeah,
he almost scored a touchdown on Sunday.
Yeah, they were trying to throw to Taylor Decker too. They went out there clowning on the Dallas Cowboys once they got this steamroller going. But defensively for them, I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with their defensive line, because like I said earlier, they added Terrion Arnold, 24th overall pick in the draft, quality corner, but he's second in the National Football League in penalties. He has 8, and he leads the NFL in defensive pass interference with 5. His bookender, the veteran, unrestricted from Tampa Bay, Carlton Davis, well, he has 4 pass interference penalties. So they're going 1-2 in the PIs with the Hutchinson rush. And now they get JJ, who's gone for 185 on average against them the last 3. So that could be foreboding for Aaron Glenn's old Motor City Kitty defense, say.
My final Vike Bite.
Yeah, it's a Vike Bite is what it is.
Brought to you by Thousand Hills. How would you frame up what the most important thing was for Sam during this bye or out of the bye? You mentioned it, from the second half of the Packers game through the game in London. A lot of opinions emanating, maybe the first time of the season from a fan standpoint. A little bit of trepidation. We've seen some cracks in the edifice, so to speak, in the foundation. And kind of the idea with Sam, ultimately, 11 touchdowns, 4 picks. Team's got 5 wins. What were your expectations in July versus what you're seeing and analyzing in October? You can say how much better it is, but now you get a taste of the 5-0. You want to be 6-0. You want to be 7-0 on that quick turnaround to the Rams.
Hell yeah.
Was there one particular thing that just bouncing around in your head during the bye where it's like, if Sam focuses on this, it's all good, baby?
When we last chatted, at Vox in the Box.
Yeah.
Or Vox on the Perch, Paulie on the Perch, a trio.
I believe we're 1-0 in Vox in the Box appearances from the GM Perch.
Correct. And they should feel fortunate that we offered up that Covenant Karma by coming there, because all they do is lose after we left. Just kidding. All right, 3-2. I mentioned it to you, and I've just thought a lot about that weird 11-step drop that Darnold went on. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I hadn't seen anything like that, maybe ever, but certainly from him. And then you drop that deep and you're not pressured and you're like, okay, you're waiting for something because O'Connell and staff are high end. They're elite at getting their best on safeties and making the safeties run with Addison and Jefferson. So that's what he was waiting for, and it was there. And Addison tore clear to the left at the 50-yard line. But then Sam didn't step into it. It was just an arm throw, and it was intercepted. And it was the Eccles bit who picked him off.
Yep.
So there was just a confluence of that, just things like that were antithetical to what we had seen from a quarterback who was September Offensive Player of the Month. From a quarterback who, as I mentioned yesterday, was number one in the NFL with bullets for red zone performance inside the 20. Red zone touchdowns, he had the most. Red zone completion percentage around 76, 77. That was best. He was leading the red zone stats inside the 20 stats in completions. And that fell off a little bit. Sam Darnold's last red zone completion took place with like 5 minutes, 50 seconds to go in the first half of the Packers game. It was a 14-yard touchdown to Justin Jefferson. He was 0 of 2 passing inside the 20 in the second half at Green Bay, and then 0 of 2 inside the 20 the entire game against the New York Jets. Something changed. Something changed, not only when Aaron Jones left, but something changed, period. And that's part of the conversation with Kevin O'Connell at 11 o'clock today. And that's part of the Timber Tech What's on Deck set list, which includes Lavelle Neal III, the columnist for the Star Tribune. He's going to be at Twin Cities or TCO PC in the TCO radio studios around the corner for a couple of segs, followed by the scribe, Ben Gessling. He was at Open Locker Room yesterday, player access, and got some really interesting quotes from a Jonathan Grenard who went to a vein opening yesterday and some deep thinking about the first part of the season. Can't wait to get into that with Mr. Gessling at about 10 o'clock. And then at 11 o'clock, Kevin O'Connell, head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, for X's and O's, a good 25-ish minute chat with the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. And by the way, you can leave a talk back for the coach. We do that on Tuesdays, Talk Back Tuesday. Go to the free iHeartRadio app and find that baby microphone and leave up to 30 seconds of a question or a comment for Kevin O'Connell. And Max and Nordo will sift through them during the course of the show. And lo and behold, we will drop one in for the head coach somewhere between 11 and 11:30. That's the free iHeartRadio app. It's the talkback feature. Why? Because we talk back and text more than people know. Nordo produces. Max Fuller guides the Great Ship Love Covenant from FM 100.3 KFAN. And I'm Paul Allen. Welcome to a Talker Tuesday, a TCO Tuesday that makes up 9 to noon, which also has some money to give away. And here comes Max.
Yes, sir. The Fan and 2 men in a junk truck want to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword check at KFAN.com now for your shot at winning. That's keyword check. Enter it now at KFAN.com. Find our street team outside of U.S. Bank Stadium this Sunday before the Vikings take on the Lions, and ask us how you can enter to win great prizes from our friends at Shields, including Vikings versus Packers tickets and a $100 gift card to Shields. Get the full details now at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
Oh, wow. Yours truly had not heard Davante Adams was traded. And the Con, Juicebox, beloved Nordo, Mad Producer Juan, follow him on Twitter as 9 to noon does, informs me Davante Adams was traded to the New York Jets. What's the skinny?
Yeah, the skinny is of course, that hamstring. Man, that hamstring was just kind of hurting the last couple of weeks, and it's tough to get on the field.
Like Hawkinson's ear at training camp last year. Well, it was just absolutely causing an awful headache.
Well, I mean, of all the things, he had vertigo. It was cured instantly.
Don't make fun of vertigo, okay? Go ahead and make fun of Vertigo with Florio on the radio show tomorrow so you can hear him whine for 2.5 minutes.
Well, I think he's still afraid to get on a plane, to be honest with you.
And that was pre-Vertigo.
But to each their own. It looks like, according to Rappaport and Diana Rossini of The Athletic, a conditional third-rounder that can become a second-rounder based on performance is headed to the Raiders from the Jets, and Davante Adams will indeed be heading to New York to play with Aaron, to play with Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
He's bringing all of his buddies around. The Lazard thing, the drops, that ain't working. Getting Breece Hall going. I mean, they got clipped at the wire last night. It was a better performance, it looked like, maybe than what we've seen. But
yeah, the Bills were down some key players in that game. I mean, I had the feel watching that game that my level of respect for Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers, the football player, my level of respect, like most, is immensely high. But some of those hits that he took in the Vikings game, the way he was driven down to the ground, and last night, and he kept bouncing back and making plays. I'm like, damn, look at the 40-year-old go. Holy cow, he still cares and he still can bring it. But, the Bills without Khalil Shakir.
Yep.
And they were down like 3 guys, and that was, I don't think the Bills played especially well.
I don't think they have Dalvin's brother right now either.
Oh, James Cook, that's the other one. Thank you. But again, the mark, cliche as it is, it's accurate. The mark of a good team is one that plays poorly or doesn't play up to what its expectations are or what it has shown, yet still finds a way to win. And that was the Bills last night. Now you got your guy Greg the Leg hitting a couple of uprights. It's too bad they don't have Will Reichert, because as we know from the Texans game, when Reichert hits uprights, the pole moves. The football doesn't.
I think do you think it's an issue like Davante Adams rolling in there? How does that necessarily change things? Because Tyron Smith, Simpson, their center Tippmann, Elijah Vera Tucker, I know they like him, but I think they've had to move him from the left to the right, kind of playing those games on the O-line. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers, that was my whole key post-London, was the fact that he looked every bit of 40.
Yeah.
And some of those include specifically the hit that Hitman put on him, and then he's doing the double-check title celebration afterwards. He looked every bit of 40, and he got hammered on a few times again last night. Welcome to the big city and the bright lights, Davante Adams. Maybe that is the cure, the panacea, if you will, for all of Jets' woes.
When 9 to noon continues, the columnist joins the equation from Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center and the TCO radio studio. Kevin O'Connell at 11 o'clock. Don't forget to leave a talk back for the coach. Hopefully yours gets chosen. And we will have a confab with the columnist around the corner on KFAN.
Inflation Vacation is back on KFAN. We have 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every weekday. That's every hour from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. To enter keywords and learn more, head to KFAN.com. Inflation Vacation is powered by 2 men and a junk truck.
Here comes Lavelle Neal III at Lavelle Neal via Twitter. Please follow him as 9 to noon does. A columnist for the Star Tribune, and he's ballyhooed. Welcome to TCO Mahal, the Taj Mahal of National Football League facilities. Do you love it here?
I love it because it's 7 minutes from the crib. So I'm right down 70th Street, so I just drive down and go through the back door, and I'm here. It's awesome.
It's great to have you here, man. And with the proposed twin sale and everything that popped last week, what's next with that?
Well, what's going to come up here is that the phone's already ringing off the hook at One Twins Way with people showing interest in the team. I got contacted last week from someone who remembered me from my days in Kansas City, who said he had people who want to buy the team. So I had to just send information along to the Twins about them. So it's coming from all directions.
Wow. So, are you trying to get a cut in this thing?
I'm not. This is not a bird dog situation. Okay. It's not a, what do they call it? There is a term for the person who introduces people if they hit it off.
Yeah,
finder's fee. I'm not looking for a finder's fee.
Yeah, in horse racing, it's called pin hooking.
Right.
Yeah, it's something like that, where you have something, you find somebody, you put it together. But in the pin hooking world, they get a cut.
Right. Right.
I'm not supplemental income up in this thing.
I'm not trying to be part of this story.
I got you.
But, yeah, well, the thing is, it's going to be several months before this plays out. And as I pointed out in my story last week, the Angels and the Nationals were on the market. The Nationals were on the market for 2 years.
Oh, geez.
And they didn't get the number they wanted, and they pulled them off the market in February.
Yeah.
So you have to be patient. Maybe there'll be more people to jump into this situation here. Maybe not. But it could take a while. It could take 6 months. It could take 8 months. It could take a year. But the fact that it's happening is just so surprising to me because I didn't understand generational wealth and passing it down to other generations. And someone was explaining this to me when the first generation passes to the second generation. It's usually seamless, goes well, but when you go from the second to the third, that's when things get a little hairy.
In what way?
Well, I'm about to explain.
Yeah.
Joe Pohlad has 6 siblings. So Jim Pohlad, Bill Pohlad, Bob Pohlad had a total of 7 kids between them, all right? Of that 7, Joe was the only one who was willing to be involved in the day-to-day operation of baseball.
Okay.
The other kids have different interests, different desires, stuff like that. So from that standpoint, there may be interest from the family just go in different directions. The other thing I found out, too, with them is that
crazy.
In January, they sold their 9 automobile dealerships, the Carousel Group, and they're making some adjustments into some of the other holdings. And there's someone whose opinion I really value a lot told me that most of the family's net wealth is tied up in the twins. And once you get close to half your net worth wrapped up in one asset, that's too many eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
So it sounds like they're trying to kind of diversify, and maybe some of the kids may just want to cash out.
Right.
They may want to. So I thought that with Joe in charge, that the Twins were set up for another 25 years. I was wrong because I didn't understand generational forces.
Right. Well, is buying a baseball team, the Twins, is buying a baseball team in this market a lucrative opportunity?
The structure is in place. Whoever buys a team will not have to worry about a stadium situation.
Yeah.
The lease with Target Field signed for another 15 years.
TV deal, though.
TV deal, well, that's going to cross Major League Baseball. By the time, I would say between 3 to 5 years from now, every team will have some sort of streaming setup where everybody can access the team a la carte.
Right.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about in a salary capless game, the money that comes into teams. I mean, you've been talking about this for decades, man. It's like you got, certain teams that are printing money from their TV deal, and then you get others who are getting, comparatively speaking, nickels and dimes. I mean, that plays into the players you go out there and get.
That's what I was trying to explain to people on Twitter the last couple of weeks, which has not gone over well.
Well, it's fact, though.
The next person who comes in may see the revenue streams and the market size and go, now I know why the Pohlads made some of these financial decisions.
Yeah.
It's totally possible. But it's also very possible someone may come in, I don't care, I got to make a splash. I'm signing Shohei Ohtani to be my number 1 starter or something. That's possible, too.
Right.
I'm not.
So you've been talking to the Wilfs of late?
No, I've not been talking to the Wilfs.
Well, just seriously, think about.
I've not been talking to Marty Davis. I've not been talking to Stanley Hubbard. I've not been talking to.
Okay, well, let's use the Wilfs, and I have no steam as to whether they'd be interested or not, but it clearly they with Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center and U.S. Bank Stadium and things that have gone into players they brought in. All the way back to Favre in 2009 with the $20 million deal, then another 20 the next year. They will pay to win if they feel it's going to help them.
Right.
Can you imagine the Wilfs in a salary capless league? Holy cow.
Are they willing to go in that direction, though? That's going to be my question.
Right.
Because one of the reasons the NFL is so doggone attractive is because of the salary situation.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, because everybody mentions the Wilfs, they do own an MLS franchise, right? They're on the Orlando team. So they're not afraid of getting into different sports.
Right.
So that's another thing to watch going forward. But and trust me, baseball teams are starting to have this conversation about local TV revenues and how to make it easier for everybody. So there may be some adjustments that are coming forward. It's going to be tough because apparently it's got to be put in the CBA, so the Players Association has to sign off on this. But I would imagine we're at the point now, they got to be sick and tired of like 3 or 4 or 5 or just 6 teams able to sign like the best players. Why not put everybody in position to get a good player?
Right.
That would be my argument. So it's going to be fascinating to see how baseball moves forward. But you pointed out the revenue and the TV contract bit is very real.
Yeah.
At the same time, Twins have a stadium. Twins have a good minor league facility. Twins have also built out their research and development and baseball operations department. So anyone who comes into this situation, yes, the TV revenue thing is big, but everything else is in place.
Is it fair to look at Cleveland, the Guardians, and their situation and their market and compare it to the situation here? Because when we were back there for the preseason to play the Cleveland Browns, well, that was part of a time where they had just gotten the Guardians back on Bally's.
Right.
So that thing had just popped up within the last month and change, not only here, but a lot of places, including there. So, I don't know what their bottom line is, what they spend, but are those situations similar?
Somewhat. I will say this, too, and Twins fans don't want to hear this, but Cleveland's cut their payroll after winning seasons in the past.
Damn.
I believe they either held their payroll or cut it a little bit after the World Series appearance against the Cubs. So every couple of years, man, they're still cutting. Look at some of the trades they've made. They've given up guys who are getting too expensive to keep.
Right.
So if that fan base, if the Twins fan base was the Guardians fan base,
Francisco Lindor, right?
Yeah.
That'd be the A example for them.
Right. And, look at their rotation. They're not paying a lot of people big money in that rotation. Maybe Bieber, and he's broken down.
Right.
There's other cases in baseball, too. I think the Marlins tore down after winning each of the World Series titles, I believe.
They did. Completely restarted.
Yeah, exactly. So what happens? I mean, the Twins are not a unique situation when it comes to how careful they've chosen to be about spending money.
Lavelle's inclusion 9 to noon is courtesy of Allery's in St. Paul. Were you bellied up at Allery's at 7:30, 8 in the morning for the throttling of the Jaguars?
Got there at 8:03 for the 8:30 start. They got slammed because they had a breakfast menu.
Yeah,
and they got that 70 breakfast orders.
Is there brisket on the brisket on the breakfast menu?
I had a breakfast sandwich with brisket in it. It was excellent, absolutely excellent, succulent. It was absolutely delicious. And they're open for lunch now because of that barbecue bit.
Yeah.
So, no, it was a good crowd. I was really impressed because if the Bears are on TV, because the game was on NFL Network.
Yeah.
The Bears fan from Orlando Lakes doesn't drive in. The Bears fan from Rochester doesn't drive up.
Oh.
They usually stay at home and watch it at the crib.
Oh, geez.
But I counted 120 people.
Oh, yeah. Well, team's red hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, why wouldn't you want to be there? Won 3 in a row, averaging, seriously, though, they're averaging like 32 points a game their last 3.
Well, you saw that stat yesterday. All 4 NFC North teams are the top 4 teams in the NFL in point differential.
Yes,
with the Vikings number 1, I believe.
Yeah, you got your last place team's 4-2 with a fantastic points differential. So sooner or later, the rubber will meet the road on this bad boy.
The Bears haven't given up more than 18 points in a game yet this year, and I think they're in a streak of 11 games with 20 or fewer. So
okay, well, does that mesh into the teams they're playing, the quality or lack thereof?
It does. I have to admit that. It's the last place schedule, and the last place schedules allowed the Bears to go 4-2. You could argue that they could be 5-1 because they should have beaten Indianapolis.
Right.
And they also had the ball in the fourth quarter with a chance to move in front of the Texans. So if it was a fifth, we'd all be hammered. But you go through a football schedule, you always look at these one-score games, go, man, if some just went that way or this way, we'd be even better.
Yeah,
right.
Who are you telling?
Exactly. So, no, you play the schedule that's given to you. They've taken advantage of it. As I texted with you yesterday, it allows Caleb Williams to go through handling school without having to face crazy Brian Flores' defense.
For now.
Things like that. For now.
Yeah.
Exactly. So he's getting confidence. He's keeping everybody involved.
Do you think he looks to run before he looks to throw?
I heard you say that yesterday, and I disagree slightly. I think because of the occasionally horse bleep offensive line.
Okay.
Because when you drop back, all of a sudden Braxton Jones is getting walked back into the pocket because he still doesn't know how to handle the bull rush.
Okay.
You're starting to dance around in there.
Yeah.
So I think
I'd have to watch more to make that a concrete opinion. That's what somebody whose opinion greatly matters to me told me into the season. We actually were watching a couple of plays from the Buffalo preseason game, which was live before a Vikings game, and it was like, look, he looks to run before he looks to pass. And then I saw it a couple of times early, but I mean, kids are going to be kids.
He had 2 design runs Sunday, which were pretty neat to see. I think he ran for like 50 yards. But here's the thing, Pierre, that I'm encouraged about. And sorry, this is Lavelle's lexicon. It's not the general football lexicon, but you've got short routes, intermediate routes, you have deep routes.
Yeah.
Then you have...
That's NFL lexicon.
Then you have sideline routes and you have middle. You know, right?
And what do you got?
A lot of young quarterbacks, dump the ball off, swing passes, sideline routes.
Yeah.
To me, a sign of a guy who's confident, knows what the hell he's doing if he's attacking the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. And Caleb Williams is not afraid to attack all 9 quadrants of that field. Right?
Wow. Okay. Right, because like with Justin, okay, let's go all the way back to RG3. Mm-hmm. For even when he won Rookie of the Year, mm-hmm. he was strictly a middle of the field guy, and there was an arm strength question meshing with his confidence as to whether he could get outside the numbers by the sideline. And Justin Herbert really does the same thing still. He's a big time middle of the field guy, and it's something for my taste that kind of limits. When people compare quarterback after quarterback after quarterback, mm-hmm. I put him farther down simply because I think I know where the bones are buried with him, that he's just does not go outside very often, and I can't exactly figure out why. So you're saying Caleb uses all quadrants of the field, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing, and that's what I'm encouraged about. Once again, quality of competition. Maybe it's allowed him to do that.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels may end up as the best in Joe. We got to give them each 25. That's fairly, the way to analyze either like free agents when they come to teams, but certainly rookie quarterbacks. But Daniels can run, but he's always looking to pass.
Right. A quarterback, it's a difference between a running quarterback and a quarterback who can run.
Yeah.
And Daniels is definitely the second part of that.
Right. He played well against the Ravens.
I don't know. I can't remember what game it was, but when he threw that dime, he got hit in the face. He released the ball and threw a dime into the end zone for a touchdown. I was like, okay, this kid's the real deal. And there are people who thought he was the most talented coming out of the draft, but no one had the guts of say he should be the first overall pick.
Right.
So it looked like Washington's going to hit. And funny, that's the Bears' next opponent. Let's go.
Out of the bye. Why did you, in the Star Tribune last week, why did you predict the Lynx would beat the Liberty?
Because I think in Game 1 was an example of that. It's the most connected team I've seen ever in terms of Ubuntu, playing together, playing off each other, taking what they're given, and playing with force when they need to. They do so many things well as a collective group. They know Lafi Shikari could score from any part in the court, and they look for her. But they also can tell when she's being double teamed or when they're trying to do bracket coverage on her.
Yeah.
And that's when the other girls come up and hit threes, and Kayla McBride shoots from 3, and Lana Smith shoots from 3.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to watch.
So have you watched the first 2 games?
I watched the fourth quarter of Game 1 and about a half of Game 2.
I don't know if how closely you watch Game 1. Courtney Williams, the point.
She's become their second best player.
How about her crossover?
Yeah.
I mean, she was just breaking them down in that game. It was phenomenal. And super exciting game.
She's like DeMar DeRozan. She may have the best mid-range game in the league.
Great. She does. I mean, like metrics-wise, best mid-range game in the league. But what's interesting through 2 games here, and I picked up on it pretty much about 8 minutes into the first game, is Cheryl's team is going to have an offensive rebounding problem.
Absolutely.
Against these ladies. And through the first 2 games, the Liberty, with offensive rebounds, out-rebounding the Lynx 30-10. Okay, so the kids would say it's a thing, but it's a problem. Had Cheryl Reeve on the radio show yesterday, and we talked about something she said in her post-game press conference after Game 2 and the loss about, our team's good problem solvers, and they have been. But I went down the road of like, well, how do you solve this problem? I mean, it's 30-10 on offensive rebounds, and she actually brought this up.
She probably said she can't.
Well, I wasn't thinking about this, because she's coach and president of basketball ops. I mean, it starts and stops with the woman who has 4 WNBA titles, and rightfully so. They could have drafted Angel Reese. Did
that come up?
She brought it up. She's
did?
Well, not by name, but she's like, and I'm, I either see or hear fans or whatever talk about a certain player we could have drafted. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, damn, that's right. That'd be Angel Reese. So then I went deep diving on Angel Reese a little bit. She just led the WNBA in offensive rebounding at 5 a game.
A lot of that was her own biz shots, though.
Yeah, yeah, right.
But I will say this, though, coming out of LSU,
right about that.
Coming out of LSU, I thought she was a fantastic athlete. I thought she'd be able to rebound. I didn't know
she would have fit this team so beautifully.
I didn't know if she was going to be able to find her offense, and she was okay offensively. But man, the rebound,
she misses a lot of short shots.
That would have been huge for the Lynx.
Yeah, I mean she's at 14 a game, period. Yeah. So that means she's grabbing defensive rebounds at like 9 a clip a game, but 5 offensive rebounds a game, and she brought it up yesterday, and I'm like, whoa, wow. Guess I wasn't thinking about that.
They've done a good job of playing through that, though, despite that that disparity in offensive rebounds. They've been able to play well. I saw that's coming. I mean, you look at Jonquel Jones. She's 6'6", and she's also got broad shoulders. I was like, how are they going to handle this woman in a series? And it's been proven, but in spite of their flaw, that's another thing I like about the team. They know they have a flaw.
Yeah.
But they play through the flaw.
Right.
That's something that says something about the squad.
Yep. Can't get those big deficits, though, at Target Center the next couple of days.
Right.
I mean, they overcame it. They climbed a mountain in Game 1. Almost did, really, in Game 2 as well.
Know.
That can't happen at Target Center on Wednesday.
They were down 17 in the second quarter of Game 2. Like, they just keep getting down 17-ish points. It's weird.
It is weird, but they've been able to make adjustments and get back into games. And that's a good quality to have, but you're right. You don't want that to happen every game.
What are you feeling for the Vikes and the Motor City Kitties this weekend? Aiden Hutchinson season. Aaron Jones, Mike Hughes Memorial Field yesterday, which means he's running around limited.
Right.
Blake Cashman and Harrison Phillips, not at practice, the team's 2 best run stoppers against a powerhouse running team. What do you think of this one?
Hutchinson is an unfortunate development, especially the way that the injury transpired. No one wants to ever see that happen. Immediately had to have surgery. Immediately had to have a rod put in. Maybe Myles Garrett is in a Lions uniform by Sunday. I'm just kidding. But that makes a difference as far as pass rush and being, because I want to see how Sam handles when people are in his face.
Yeah.
If he gets moved off the spot, how does he make adjustments?
But is this the team that can do that? Sans Hutchinson.
I don't think they are. He's an elite pass rusher. Top 7?
1 or 2.
Top 1 or 2?
Yeah, it's T.J. Watt or him for my taste.
No,
as defense, true defensive linemen go.
And if you're telling me that Aaron Jones is going to play, then that's another big advantage for the Vikings, because we saw what it looked like when Aaron Jones was out of the game in London. I think he's as vital to the Vikings offense as any player in that roster.
Agreed.
I'm not saying...
No, you can say it.
Justin Jefferson is the elite force. He's the best non-quarterback in the NFL. But in terms of importance, it may be Aaron Jones.
Yeah, if somebody made that point to me over the weekend and laid it out nicely, and I mean, it's the ultimate team game. So, I mean, if you lose Darisaw for a long patch, that's probably going to get you. If you lose Darnold for a long patch, that'll get you. Jefferson, Jones, the whole thing. But yes, with Aaron Jones and the complete nature of his game, and losing somebody like that in the game makes it that much more difficult, because you don't have like the full week to get ready.
That's
for
a good point.
In closing, your Bears are hot. The Minnesota Vikings are undefeated. The division's the best division in football. It's not close at this stage. But the NFC is coming up so goofy. Now, you got the Vikings undefeated, which nobody, including 9 to noon, would have predicted. Aiden Hutchinson is out for the year. That factors into it. Christian McCaffrey is in Germany for some Achilles work, which is weird.
Oh, boy.
Philly's coach is cussing out fans and having to apologize, and they're so discombobulated right now. They got A.J. Brown back. If they didn't have A.J. Brown in that Browns game, they would have lost. And I think they were at Philadelphia too, but it doesn't matter.
They were.
Yeah, so they're at home, and they're getting booed at home again. So Philly's no bargain, but Philly's super talented. And Baker's out here trying to win the MVP. Seriously,
I like
Baker Mayfield's out here trying to win the MVP. I'm not kidding you. He's unbelievably good right now.
I like where you're headed with this.
Super Bowl inclusion from the NFC is very wide open right now, Mr. Wobble.
I absolutely agree with you, because I think that going into the season, everybody was going to be San Francisco as the force.
Or the Lions.
Or the Lions. I didn't know what to think about the Cowboys. And the Cowboys have been a train wreck. Your boy Zimmer's defense is getting torched.
He was down Micah Parsons and Eric Hendricks, but it still should not have gotten that out of hand.
Yeah, so who would you, regardless of record, who would be your top 3 NFC teams?
In no particular order, the Detroit Lions, the Minnesota Vikings, and What do you think?
I'm still putting the Niners in that group. It's super weird, but they're in a division that's going to allow them to be in it
I gotta
for the
put them in,
totality
too.
of the season. And then now we're talking about high-end trained.
But I think this conference could be had more than people thought it could be had going
Big
into
time.
the season.
Oh, that's 100% true.
And I mean, Kirk O'Chains thinks he has a 90% chance to get there.
Yeah. So you're right,
And
Mr. 509.
Well, they're 4-2.
Yep. And so it's going to be interesting up to the trade deadline to see. I think all the impactful moves may be involve NFC North teams trying to load up because the window's open. This is our shot.
Right.
And it sounds like the bones of the Cleveland Browns are going to get picked over before the deadline. They may decide to sell everything. Myles Garrett may be on the block. I'm like,
wow.
That could lead to some very interesting situations here.
That'd be crazy.
Yep.
Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Where's Allery's located?
7th Street between Robert and Jackson, downtown St. Paul.
Got you.
Free parking and wild shuttles, am I right?
Exactly. And Saints shuttles and Loon shuttles. They hit all three sports now.
Put your scarves up. Eating that
Scarves
brisket
up.
breakfast sandwich.
Appreciate you, my man.
All right, thanks for having me.
Lavelle Neal III, courtesy of Allery's in St. Paul. He writes for the Star Tribune. He's a columnist in ballyhooed fashion at Lavelle Neal via Twitter. Speaking of the Strib, the weekly component known as the Scribe, Ben Gessling joins 9 to noon around the corner as we creep up on 10 o'clock. Don't forget, an hour from now, Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell joins 9 to noon from Egan and TCO Radio Studios. Back after this.